Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Robert Machado, Chair of Humanities and Director of English at Lebanon Valley College. And it's my pleasure as the recipient of last year's Vickroy Teaching Award to welcome you to the 2020 commencement ceremony, our 151st in the college's proud history. First, on that note of pride, I'd like to say that you all look really great out there with your scraggly, bushy, overgrown hair, unshaven faces and various extremities, sitting in your sweatpants, not even a semblance of effort. Come on, people. This is a commencement. After all, look at me. I've been wearing a clean suit and tie every morning for a month straight, bouncing eagerly on my toes like an athlete at the peak of his form and physique, waiting on the sidelines for the coach to say the word and get me back in the game. No, that's not true. It's not true at all. The dry cleaner's been closed, and I'm not even sure that I'm not wearing sweatpants right now. Okay, never mind that. Back to the point. Keep your focus. Take notes. Pay attention. I joke, of course, because now, for so many, feels desperate, painful, confusing, disappointing, isolating, threatening, full of loss. And it seems difficult to think that any words from me can help us to forget or get our arms around this moment. But as my students know, I'm an optimist, and I believe in the potency of constraints and of improvisation to reveal new possibilities, underscore the overlooked, and shift narratives. So, in my view, despite the challenges that we face right now and our concern for others here and elsewhere across the globe, it's my hope that this experience can shake us into a kind of renewed awareness of our environmental and social interconnectedness across social classes, identity categories, borders, etc., and awareness of the need for social structures and policies that effectively recognize this interconnectedness and address our most vulnerable. Amid the pressures of everyday life, for me, the breadth of this interconnectedness can recede, become lost, even be explained away. For example, in the US, tens of thousands of homeless on the streets without sanitation and healthcare, for many can seem distant, beyond solution, even tolerable. This ruthless virus, however, reminds us that until structures exist to provide the basics for living, we're all at risk, as the virus thrives in conditions that disproportionately affect the socially marginalized and underserved. The virus highlights inequities of all sorts and reminds us of their long histories and the structures underpinning them. At least for now, it won't let us look away. And in so doing, it compels us to find answers quickly and together. Answers, if you follow the news, that in some sectors and places appear to be coming. It's my hope that from this crisis, we can reconnect to values, recognize what's possible, make lasting social changes, and develop routines of thought and action that can help maintain a new awareness after normal returns. It's my hope that from this, we could be better. Here's more of my optimism. I believe in my students and their generation. For example, in a single course with me this semester, students conducted semester-long research projects on self-designed topics that include using physical fitness to improve mental health disorders, challenges associated with medical translation and interpretation, bridging linguistic divides between patients and clinicians, new workplace-based solutions to enhancing mental well-being, a new holistic approach to physical training that improves fitness for 40% of adult Americans, queer archives and archiving practices, a project that also establishes for the first time at LVC a digital archive for LVC's LGBTQ+ student organization, Freedom Rings. The social impacts of insufficient dental care, due mostly to economic disparities, on childhood development. The social impacts of single motherhood on childhood development. Mapping an evolving spectrum of male heterosexual identity and expression. How graphic design influences perception and consumption within the book industry. How better policies on service and emotional support animals can improve college campuses. How better student ambassador programs can improve college campuses. how sound shapes our experience of video games, how or electronic sports are changing the landscape of what even constitutes sport, a comparative music theoretical approach to meditative music across faith traditions, and a musical experiment that draws on these traditions, an investigation of the nature of reading itself at the intersection of memory, event sequencing, and narrative theory. And finally, what my student collaborators have called the, quote, Floral Drone Project, end quote, a collaborative historical research project and artistic production that was to culminate in an end of semester sound art event in one of LVC's greenhouses with the help of Dr. Rob Carey and the biology department. This project makes audible the silent world of plants to help improve environmental awareness and mindfulness by listening louder to our surroundings. To accomplish this, 2 students and I used a biofeedback sensor built into a quad random voltage generator, an Instruo Scion, and a modular synthesizer to create what one could call plant music. So all of this in just one class of juniors and seniors across majors in the sciences and humanities. The ambition, ingenuity, social engagement, and creativity driving these students represent just a cross-section of what happens more broadly on campus in and beyond classrooms, made possible by the nexus of individuals in our community. I have confidence in my students and in this graduating class who enter postgraduate life under such difficult circumstances to lead the way and make a better world. I'd like to close with a brief anecdote and then something from the Floral Drone Project. When I was an undergraduate in San Diego, California, an English professor and now dear friend of mine, Dr. Irene Williams, without whom I wouldn't be here, entered one class uncharacteristically late, about 15 minutes as I remember it. 20-something students sat waiting for her, doing nothing. When she entered, calm as always, and later apologetic, she sat down and looked at us curiously, silently. After that long pause, she said with a kind impatience, "What are you waiting for? There's real work to be done. You don't need me or any authority to get started." At the time, I found this remark incredibly surprising, empowering, and defamiliarizing, making the everyday strange. What had we been waiting for? Which habits, assumptions, motives, interests, goals, defenses, punishments, and rewards compel any moment of action or stasis? Who creates these structures and how might they be recreated, undone, repurposed? Why do they matter and for whom? What are the stakes? So I leave you with that. There's real work to be done. You don't need me or any authority to get started. So behind me now, you can hear a brief excerpt of a 2-hour-long track called Succulent Buds Storm. A colleague of mine in New York City, Louis Berry, a poet who writes about art and literature at the City University of New York, described this composition as being, quote, tuned into an ontological wavelength that otherwise eludes regular human consciousness. Plaintive, lonely, and electronically translated dolor, its various high-pitched tones seem to have as their intent to remind us, to remind me that they are there, to not let me forget about them. End quote. As we enter a phase in which the possibility of a remaking of normal is upon us, these comments to me seem fitting. A reminder to pay attention to who and what's there. There's real work to be done. You don't need me or any authority to get started.